sometimes when you're a small business and you don't know what story to tell and how to position your brand or where you can get those backlinks. So it takes time to figure out. I suggest having someone in-house working with agencies like us to try and find those solutions. Always have someone in-house. That's how I think it works. You need to have someone in-house who will be managing the whole thing, will be public-facing figure, will be the authorship that is associated with this site and the expert that is associated with your brand.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Ecommerce Traffic and Conversion Podcast. My name's Scott Branley, and I'm here with my co-host DJ Sprague and our special guest today, Ann Smarty. Ann, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
We're really excited for you to share your knowledge and insights with our audience today. Let me just do a little introduction of who Ann is. So Ann Smarty is the founder of Smarty Marketing, a boutique SEO agency based in New York. Ann's SEO career began in 2005 as the editor-in-chief of Search Engine Journal and a contributor to prominent search and social blogs, including Small Business Trends and Mashable. And today, she's a bit of an expert on Reddit and using Reddit as an SEO tool and engagement tool. So that's one of the things we really want to talk about today, is really how to leverage Reddit and why it is so popular in search these days and what e-commerce brands should be doing to leverage this asset.
Yeah. So before we get into that, we always ask our guests to tell us a little bit about how they got into their industry. So how did you get into SEO as an agency, Ann?
Well, first of all, it happened so many years ago. I keep telling that story, but it's still quite a fun one. I was still in college, SEO wasn't a thing at that point. I was just looking for a part-time gig because I needed money, and I had my own plan for my career. I thought I was staying in my college and being a professor and researcher. And then I found this little SEO gig and I changed my mind and just stuck with it. So it was quite a challenge. Everyone in my life, everyone who knew where I was going was so much surprised that I was changing all my plans for this. Like no one even knew very well. I was still in Ukraine, so Google wasn't as popular at that point. We had our own search engines. No one knew, like, okay, I search. No one knew there was like marketing or anything behind searching, and everyone was like, it sounds crazy that you're changing your whole life plans for this. So it's still pretty overwhelming, even like thinking back at how that happened and how I made this my life and my career is still pretty unbelievable, even after all these 20 years.
Yeah, that's quite a story. So how did you become editor-in-chief for Search Engine Journal? That's quite an act.
I know, another funny story. When I was starting in SEO, there wasn't as many huge SEO search publications. Again, it was still at the beginning of this thing. So I was employed by a very small e-commerce site that was sending products to the United States. So I needed someone who could speak English and who could understand and help customers. Within 3 or 4 months, I became like their marketing person because they're very small and I was very good at doing a lot of things at a time. And I started their SEO. I started researching what SEO was, how to get found in Google by a global audience because we were sending products globally. And within a few weeks, my boss at that point would call me in his office and say, "Hey, do you see this huge people in SEO. Like at that point, that was Jim Boykin, Brent Fishkin, Moz as the blog. And he was like, Search Engine Journal was the hugest, still beginning, but still already very well known in that little industry. And he's like, I want you to be part of this. I want you to be like them, write for them. And I started my own blog, and very quickly I became a little bit known. That was Finn at that point when we could share our articles on SEO. And pretty quickly, because that was still very small industry, I became pretty quickly known in that little circle, and I got invited to first contribute to Search Engine Journal and then become their editor-in-chief. And at that point, that was my full-time job already. So I switched from my little e-commerce site to being a reporter in SEO, writing for my own blog, inviting contributors to the Search Engine Journal, managing the editorial calendar. So that was such a fun time when I was not even doing SEO, but mostly reporting on it because I was still learning what it was and how to deal with it.
Fantastic. And now you're still contributing to Practical E-commerce.
Yes, it's not, it's actually a recent thing. It's just a couple of years. So within my career, just part of it, but I'm really enjoying it. And we had with Carrie, who is the editor of Practical E-commerce, we had one friend who has passed away for sadly, Hamid Batista. And he at some point thought that would be a great fit for that blog when he was still alive. And he introduced me to Carrie, saying, this is the person you need. And that's how it started. But yeah, it's such a great community as well of people. I still enjoy, I talk to a lot of people. There are a lot of small business owners, e-commerce small business owners who try to navigate SEO as well as they can, and they are very responsive and they share feedback on everything that I'm doing. So it's a very enjoyable community to be part of.
That's great. Well, Carrie's a great guy, and Practical E-commerce is a great site and resource. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Shifting to the real question here, why is Reddit performing so well in search results these days? What has shifted? What's happening in your mind?
We can absolutely just theorize at this point because Google would not tell us why Reddit. We have our own opinions about that. I think that there are a lot of things happening here. First of all, Google is depending on its own algorithm too much, and we see it a lot. So they can only highlight big authority sites because they depend on backlinks, on branding, on trustworthiness, authoritativeness. They can only find content from huge sites. And we all know as searchers, that's not always what we need. In many ways, when we search Google, we need some firsthand experience, some bloggers who really did something and have knowledge, very narrow knowledge of what they are doing. And Google cannot provide their searches with that. That was also amplified with AI because about a year ago, we found out that machine can provide content that is not much worse than all of those articles that Google is currently ranking. So it's like Google cannot fight that, because if any AI article is placed on a huge popular domain, they will have to rank it. But that's not what people need. What searchers need. Searchers need to find a first-hand experience, answers, expertise that is very specific and not from reporter or AI machine-generated content. So at that point, Google knew that they were going to have a problem with giving people what they needed. And Reddit was the answer because that's a very human moderated community. So it's it's protecting itself from any AI generated content, from any generic spammy or people who try to promote themselves, to be self-promotional. So it's very tight and very well protected community that has a lot of content that is based on first-hand experience. Reddit is not the only community that is being surfaced these days. They are trying to do that with Quora, and I think if we choose between Reddit and Quora, for so many reasons, Reddit is better because it's humanly moderated. It's very well protected from everything that is not real. This is the best, the most thing, the biggest problem for Google is to really find real answers, real expertise, real experience. That's what they're trying to do. And that's why they like Reddit so much. And they also had a deal with them. So Reddit is allowing Google to go through their archives, their content, and try to apply some sort of analysis and find what it is people are searching for. And don't forget also, for most branded search that I'm dealing with for the clients, there's always brand name Reddit query there. So people are searching for products, brands on Reddit to find that first-hand experience. So Google knows that people need this, and they're trying to leverage what they have the best they can. I don't know for how long that is going to be working, because right now it's pretty insane. Reddit is not only dominating search. You see like specific Reddit section that is mostly Reddit for like discussions on forums. Then they have organic search coming right after that is also Reddit. And they have all that rich snippets, Q&A rich snippets that would show all little threads for it as well. And then there are people also ask, and then you see organic results from a lot of branded queries. So it's right now it's a little overboard. I think that Google will be working, I hope, and because everyone agrees that's too much. So I think that Google will be working on kind of taming this down and softening this. But Reddit is on top of Google at this point because Reddit has something that Google doesn't have. They have real people expertise and input. And Google has been trying to work on that for years. And we've seen Google efforts with Google Wave, Google Plus, now Google Notes, generating real people's insight so that could be part of the algorithm and give real answers to real people. But they haven't been successful for 20 years now. So we will see. The only thing that they can do at this point is using other third-party sources, which is Reddit.
Yeah. So really, Reddit is supporting the experience and expertise components of the EAT formula: experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And that makes sense because Google certainly wants to give people content from experts, firsthand knowledge, real experience, and not just somebody writing about a product that they've never used. Makes sense.
It is funny also for those who have been in the industry for quite a while. We were able to see this back and forth movements from Google. About 10 years ago, they had a fight against all user-generated content, including forums. So they de-ranked most of that, and they were like, it's not real expertise, those are just discussions. So it's funny to see them going back to like realizing that's really what people are searching. We can only guess how. I guess there are a lot of contributing factors for them to realize that user-generated content and real people's input is really important. So then now they go back. So instead of just killing all the forums, now they're back to dominating search results, which I would think that something in the middle, more balanced, would be better. But at this point, we are dealing with the real domination of Reddit and search results.
What does play into UGC, or user-generated content, and Google obviously likes that. And it also plays into the transparency and authenticity that Google also preferences. And it's also kind of playing into the idea of peer created content. Back in the day of blogging, right? Way back in the 2000s when blogging was killing it, it was a lot of, because it was that authenticity and that transparency of the UGC, the firsthand knowledge and experience, and the peer component. And I think Google really likes that peer generated content, and consumers like it. We want to see what other people are saying, not necessarily what the brand is saying. And so we always want to look for that, which is why we like ratings and reviews from peers and consumers, because that's part of that peer generated or user generated content.
Well, I think I all agree with you that that's exactly what people are searching and that's what they want. Even when I search for like travel destination, I don't want CNN ranking for that query. I want some little blogger who really was at that place, discovered some gems, discovered some hidden places. I want that content. The problem with Google is that that's what they're trying to achieve. And that's what they're telling us they're trying to achieve. They're talking about highlighting hidden gems. They're talking about all of that. So far, they haven't been successful. And they've been telling us for about a year now, since September, the latest helpful content update, they've been saying us, hey, we want hidden gems ranking, not big brands. And then one update after another, they just show us they're helpless. They cannot fight their own algorithm in that respect. So with helpful content update, all they did was kill really small independent bloggers. Now the recent site reputation update, which we were all looking forward to because we thought that is something that they were going to use to achieve the goal of not highlighting those huge publications and rather surfacing something smaller and more authentic. Now, what they did was just manual penalties. So they just proved to us that they cannot algorithmically kill any big sites. So they can only do that manually. So we're still looking forward. Now they tell us that the next core update will be something that will be helping smaller sites and highlighting them in search. And we know that, I don't know if you've heard about, but the leaked Google's documentation also mentions small sites as well and how they can be artificially, like not artificially, but not using the core algorithm signals, they can be also surfaced in search results. So we still hope, it's been a year and we're still hoping that Google will achieve that goal of highlighting more independent sites and not so much focusing on site authority, site reputation, and all of that. So it's still work in progress. They're not still there, but we're still all hoping they will get there.
Right. Speaking of the leak, I was just reading a headline this morning, didn't get a chance to finish the article from Search Engine Journal, basically questioning, was it really a leak? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know yet. It's like, I do think it was a leak because Google has, and it's also a funny story here because Google has been using SEO community for so many years to try and help adopt what they're launching. So let's say they're launching Google Plus. Who was the biggest advocates of Google Plus when it was launched? SEO community. When they want to launch any new schema or any new project, who is the biggest advocate of that and spreading and writing all over about it? SEO community. So we've been being used by Google for so many years to help them adopt all the new projects and initiatives. But in response, they've been lying to us in so many ways. And that's my problem as well. They could have told us, we cannot say this. We cannot disclose it. But no, we were like, is there a site authority as part of algorithm? No, they were telling us again and again, no. And it's just, and they were even mocking Van Fishkin all over the place, saying he's just inventing theories that have nothing to do with the algorithm. And now we know it was. So I do really think it was not planned from Google, because it doesn't look like something they've been doing for years, disclosing what they're really doing. And in fact, everything we've been discussing for years in SEO community, including site authority, long clicks, authorship, Chrome using allowing Chrome to disclose the data to the search department, all of that appears to be true from that document. And so I don't know. We will see. For now, it looks like it has really been an accident, and we've been seeing them a lot from Google. I think this year has been the most revealing in terms of algorithms and how Google works, including the trial documentation that has been made public, and now this. So it's pretty revealing and interesting year in SEO for sure.
Yeah. I do remember that debacle with Rand Fishkin and Brian Dean from Backlinko, when Google was saying no, authority and backlinks aren't that important. But they both had a lot of their own data and research that said, well, it really is. So
the thing is, that's the thing. And if you have been in SEO community for quite a while, you can always tell who really does SEO and who just reports on SEO. Because if you do SEO, you can kind of tell all of these correlations. You know that until you start building links, nothing happens. So whatever Google says, you know that, because that's what you're dealing with on a daily basis. And all those people who keep repeating what Google says without much experience in what it looks when you're really in the field. So you can always tell those people do not deal with clients for sure. They are just telling stuff. And it's also another layer in SEO community, which quite fun one to deal with.
You can't read the Google documentation and say that's how the algorithm works.
Yep. Or
it's
just
clearly how it works.
Yeah. And that Mike King was the one who really had a very detailed report on the leak documentation. And there is a lot of insight from him on what Google has been telling us for years, and not just telling us, mocking some of the people like who were trying to do, hey, we did this experiment and this is what it looks like. And Googlers would be mocking publicly those people, saying, no, this is not really a part of the algorithm at all. There is no such a thing. So it's fun. It's fun place, fun time to be in SEO these days.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's kind of like conspiracy theories, right? What's real?
Yes. After this, really, after dealing with this firsthand and watching it develop through so many years, I can believe in any conspiracy theory now. When public representatives are just blatantly lying in your face, it's just, yeah, you can now I can believe in anything.
Right.
I love to that old saying. Remember, Google said that their mission was to do no harm, but the reality is, look at how they prioritize certain content, certain websites. Obviously, paid ads. 92% of their revenue comes from paid ads, and the way they manipulate and game that. So, what Google says in their documentation and their guidelines.
Apparently.
done.
I mean, I can understand this. They have to feed how many employees, and they
Yeah,
have to make
it's probably
revenue.
true.
So it's not like one person being evil trying to just kill the world. It's not like that. I understand where they're coming from. I feel my biggest concern here is how they forget which data they are using, how they do not work with people, publications, bloggers, SEOs who have been their biggest advocates for years, how they forget this huge part of what they depend on in this constant fight for revenue. We give them content, publishers, everyone. They don't have it. We give it to them, and I feel like this has been a deal for so many years. And as of a couple of years ago, they started just killing it with no much communication back. I know I love Danny. I knew him way before he became part of Google, but even he joining Google as that liaison, like this negotiator between publishers, SEOs, and Google, even he cannot really explain what is going on at this point, because all he can say, create great content, helpful content, create helpful content. That's that's the only answer, and it's not doing it. So we will see how it develops. I feel like Google realizes the problem. I think a big part of search department of Google understands there is a problem there. So the fixing it will depend on the management, on all of that. But if they want to survive, because no one can kill Google except Google, and they know that as well. So I hope they will. I don't know. They realize the problem. We can see that they have all these frantic movements and all the promises they cannot deliver. Something is going wrong. At some point, they will either fix it, or there will be another search engine that we will be switching to, because it will not happen fast, but it will unless they fix it.
So in the meantime, until they fix it, now since Reddit is still on this in the front of everything, all these searches, how are you helping your clients to take advantage of that in as far as SEO goes?
That's a great question, and Reddit is such a unique community, so there is no one answer to that question. So we always take every client very differently. So, for example, we had a client who was selling something, little fixes for sailboats. It's such a specific niche, and you cannot do much for that. You cannot create a subreddit for that brand. You cannot go just advertise because it's so specific. So what we did is find really, really small but very specific subreddits where we could just become active, answer question, and at some point we would bring up solutions to the problems. For bigger clients, we can create branded subreddits, especially if there is a need for that. We would never do that for just about any client, because again, subreddits are very hard to manage because those are real people, and those are not easy. Sometimes there could be a problem managing their expectations, when they're unhappy, when they're miserable, and they on Reddit. It's something that you can really, really take with much care. So with some clients who do already have problems with reputation management in Google and then Reddit, and there are all other questions that come up, people want to discuss on Reddit, we would suggest creating a branded subreddit and pay attention to it, pay very close attention to it, and we of course can help. Our flagship product is creating content that is Reddit friendly. So those timely trending statistics, data-driven infographics. So we would publish them on the client site and we would promote them on Reddit very carefully. Again, Reddit is a very touchy-feely place, so you cannot be too self-promotional there. So we know how to do that because we've been doing that for 10 years, 11 years, I think, at this point. So we would promote, create content, original research, these infographics, all of that do very well on Google or on Reddit because they like new information, new trending topics, new statistics. When some city wins, some state loses some of the statistics or all of the nominations. So we do that for most of the bigger clients and some of the startups as well, because that helps brand visibility in both Reddit and Google. It helps driving backlinks from all the reporters and journalists who are on Reddit. And anytime when people search for that brand on Reddit, there's a huge chance all that content comes up. So it's not just miserable customers discussing their bad experience. It's also all those studies coming on and kind of diluting the sentiment as well.
That's great. So let's pretend I'm an e-commerce website owner, and you're going to help guide me through the best ways to use Reddit for my brand, for my products, for search, and for reputation management. What would you tell me? It's a lot.
The first step is to start monitoring your brand name on Reddit and hopefully your competitors as well. If you're in a big enough niche that you have competitors, because some of our clients even do not have competitors. They are so specific and so niche. So I would start with monitoring Reddit and Reddit it a lot. So you cannot be successful on Reddit unless you spend a lot of time reading, going through threads, seeing what people are saying about your competitors. If you're a big enough brand, then about yourself as well. So that would always be the first step. We can help with that. We create reports. We have the Reddit monitoring system as well. Weekly reports on what people are saying about your competitors or about your product or about the problems that are being solved by your product. All of that as well. So depending on the size of the site, it could take some time to really get used to that niche as well. One thing about Reddit that I tell all the clients is that do not hire all those people, and it's a popular service these days, that claim we will advocate you in non-commercial way so that you are in a good positioning in Reddit. I would caution any company from doing anything like that, because Reddit is like fire. If it starts, it's very hard. So you have to really understand your target audience there before you do anything. And if you can afford that, either have your internal team that you trust that deal with your customers at this point also dedicate some time to Reddit. We can train them. We can do all of that. But keep that as much in-house as you can, because that's a learning curve. Sometimes you will make mistakes. Sometimes you will learn from those mistakes. The most important thing is not to go on Reddit like you would do on any other social network and say, hey, we are ready to help you. Here's our phone number. We'll give you a free discount. No. Reddit crowd can be really aggressive when brands try to defend themselves publicly on Reddit threads. So this is a huge learning curve. We can help with that, especially if you have currently a problem with some reputation on Reddit or subsequently on Google. But keep it in-house as much as you can, because your team will be learning their lessons, will be getting better and better. And at some point, within a few months, within 6 months, within 12 months, you will get a much better understanding and hold of that community than if you would ever outsource that. So as an agency, we do consulting, we do monitoring, we do analysis, competitors analysis, but we always advise clients to keep the actual interactions with customers on Reddit in-house. Again, we can do turnkey solutions like the content promotion as well, but it's not for every client. Many of them like the product because it generates links as well, but that's a different story. It's not for reputation mostly. It's for brand awareness, and so it's not managing your reputation, it's growing your brand. That product, it's a little bit different, so it works a little bit differently, and we can manage it full time with not much involvement from client. But when it comes to managing your reputation, keep it as much in-house as you can, and don't get too aggressive with trying to defend your reputation on Reddit or like stealing competitors' clients as well. Just be very careful and use it as learning curve. Take it 6 months, 12 months before you understand your Reddit community much more.
That's really insightful. That's
it sounds like there's a lot of nuance, strategy involved, and time, right? To understand, like you said, understand your market and your community.
Reddit is very different from any other channel that most companies come across with, because it's a lot of trolling. And it's all indexed by Google, and it can backfire very, very easily. And don't forget that all the subreddits are also special flowers. That's why we take time when it comes to any client strategy. We take time researching those specific subreddits as well, because they all have different roles, they all have different moderators, they all have different even atmosphere of what you can and cannot say, what can and cannot backfire. I remember it's like many years ago when I started joining forums, SEO forums, they were all also special flowers. Like there was Digital Point, there was Finn, there was Moz community at that point, and there was Webmaster World that is still around. And that is one of those communities that I will never, ever, ever, never join because I learned my lesson. That was like subreddit that whenever you say something, all the members would be all over you, telling you how stupid you are and how worthless you are. And I've been there. It's been 20 years since I tried. And even then, all of those communities were like really special flowers. And you can only understand that once you get involved and spend some time on each of them. This is the same thing with subreddits. You cannot just take for granted, hey, this is okay here, so saying this would be okay in this subreddit as well. So this is not how it works. It's all different rules, all different adjusted. What is normal is all different in all of those subreddits. So taking your time here and just trying very slowly and mildly, we can help, we can navigate, we can research, we can give some suggestions. But again, taking your time is the most important thing when it comes to reputation management on Reddit. And promoting your content on Reddit as well. It's also very tricky. Why we can do it better after 10 years of doing this is exactly because we have experience with what is normal on some subreddit, how to position content on another subreddit, where to put it. So we have that experience. So it's also very tricky. So if you're trying to create an infographic and promote it on Reddit without much experience, be prepared that your domain can be blacklisted, because many moderators do not like promotional content. Most subreddits take it very, very carefully with any self-promotional links and things like that. So you have to be very picky with where you promote it, how you do it. So it's definitely a learning curve. And it's no wonder why there is no Reddit services that I'm aware of on most agencies that I know. So they're like all those freelancers that they can position your content on Reddit, which I do not advise using. But established services, it's not really common these days, even though Reddit is so great. So it's so huge at this point, and you would think there would be a lot of marketing services helping you get there, but no, it's been a year, and not many agencies. At least I'm not aware of any that provides any Reddit marketing services at this point, which is quite surprisingly because there's sure a demand for that.
Well, it's so nuanced, and it sounds like they're trying to keep it a walled garden, like Wikipedia, right? You can't just create a Wikipedia page. There's so many steps and processes and time and commitment involved in really creating a really transparent and authentic Wikipedia page. And that community is very, very guarded by its moderators. And it sounds like it's similar to Reddit. Right? You can't just come in and start promoting yourself and defending yourself and creating content and creating a voice when you haven't earned your chops within the community. Yeah.
Well, Wikipedia is guarded, but it's still, there are a lot of agencies providing services for Wikipedia. Revisions, entries, submissions, all of that. It is not cheap. It is not easy at all, but at least there is a process there, which is pretty same for anything you're trying to do that. With Reddit, it's different because there is such a vibrant collection of all different subreddits that you have to learn how to approach. So yeah, it's definitely one, I would say, the most challenging marketing channel at this point that businesses have to figure out, because it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and it's been like a year now. We're still waiting for Google to kind of get it more balanced at some point, but it's not happening yet. So it is a marketing channel that you cannot ignore because it's all over your customers' faces. So yeah, it's definitely a challenging time for that part of marketing.
Well, props to you for figuring out a niche and how to turn it into an opportunity for your clients.
We started way before it was a thing. It was like 11 years ago. It was almost an accident because we were creating those data-driven linkable assets. That's how we call them. But it's not a searchable term, so we have to call them infographics. So we tried so many channels to promote, to position a part of the regular PR outreach, which takes time, and it's also not as successful in terms of traffic and visible results. So we stumble upon at that point, right? We tried a lot of channels. I'll tell you. So like, even like my viral content, we were utilizing that as well. So we tried a lot of things, and Reddit was one of them. So it's not where we started. It was just one of many channels that we were trying. And year after year, we found that yes, Reddit is difficult in terms of being natural and organic there, but it's also delivering the best results because it's the homepage for most of the journalists, bloggers, for people who can write about you, even for just being there in like link amplifiers in terms of that community, people who can give you links. This is the most effective place to be, because that's what journalists are tracking and monitoring as well, especially like local journalists. We get state level publications are very easy to reach through Reddit as well. So when no other social media network or community was as successful in terms of generating links, viral marketing, word of mouth, And that's how we became experts in Reddit. So it wasn't intentional. We tried a lot of stuff before we narrowed our strategy down to mostly Reddit.
It sounds like you have to almost, given the nature of what it is and where things have been going.
All right. Well, we got one last question for you, Ann. We really appreciate you being on the show. DJ, you got your $1 million bill handy?
So the $1 million question. This is our trademark. Given everything you know about SEO and Reddit and your experience with e-commerce, what is the one recommendation you would make to an e-commerce store owner that would significantly improve their growth, their results, their revenue?
One, it's SEO, right? There is a lot of balancing here. There's no one signal or one factor that can break everything. Well, from my experience, and I know there are a lot of people who would say backlinks do not matter, but sorry, not sorry. It's what moves the needle. You can optimize on site as much as you want. You can have perfect site speed, responsiveness, usability, content, anything. But what really moves the needle is backlinks. And if I were to pick one thing that could really move a needle for any e-commerce website, I would start figuring out how to get backlinks. There are not many ways to do that well these days. And it takes time to figure out how. I would definitely go for brand-driven backlinks. That includes going to podcasts, webinars, giving interviews, going to conferences, having a representative, like public-facing representative who does guest posting on high-quality websites, who gets interviewed, who just is being part of the community. If you are out there with trying to talk to your peers or relevant publications or just being part of that community, you will see those opportunities coming your way. And brand reputation or brand-driven link building accomplishes a lot of goals, not just backlinks. You're also there. Google knows, get used to the fact that you are a brand and you have a voice and you can rank those videos and interviews for your brand name. So there are a lot of benefits of doing that activity. It takes time to figure out. It takes time to make it work, because sometimes when you're a small business and you don't know what story to tell and how to position your brand, or where you can get those backlinks. So it takes time to figure out. I suggest having someone in-house working with agencies like us to try and find those solutions. Always have someone in-house. And I know as an agency owner, I'm probably not in the position when it's profitable for us to suggest keep most of things like that in-house. But that's how I think it works. You need to have someone in-house who will be managing the whole thing, will be public-facing figure, will be the authorship that is associated with this site, and the expert that is associated with your brand. By all means, get some help from people who have been doing that for clients, from agencies and all of that. But do have that person or a team who can also navigate that in-house. So get backlinks. Get the backlink. That's what's going to move the needle in many ways, including organic search reputation, becoming an entity, getting site authority, getting higher rankings and more established rankings with helpful content, even that update. What we saw was people with fewer backlinks were killed. Sometimes, and I've been talking to a lot of people, some people would have many sites, like 5, 6 sites, and the only one that was the one that had the fewest backlink. And it's all over the, it's still backlinks guard you from a lot of instability in search results as well, and help you grow as well. So that's probably, if I had to choose one thing, that would be mine.
So it sounds like earned PR-driven backlinks, obviously, not just paid backlinks, not just basic guest blogging backlinks, but really earned PR-driven. So
we call them entity-driven. We call those backlinks that you earn as a brand entity-driven. So there is a brand attached to it as well, be it a column on some magazine or blog that is well known in your industry, an interview, a webinar that is on YouTube. So anytime you have your brand name attached, like you represent the brand, even like linkable assets that we create, they always come, the research is by brand. So we want that not just to be a link, but also a contribution to your overall entity, so that Google hears about that brand again and again and gets those backlinks that attach to point to that site and that brand as well, until it becomes an entity in Google. So we call them entity-driven backlinking, which I'm a big fan of, and always been. That I'm initially a guest blogging expert, which initially was for that. that was my big idea behind guest blogging, is when you can write for some blog more established than yours and get heard. So you can actually have a voice and grow your reputation from there. So that's I think this is the smartest way to build links, because it's not just links. You never know which of those links will be part of the whole algorithm, but you want those links to contribute to something else, in this case building your name.
Do you think there's still value in buying links too as part of your overall strategy?
Well, let's see. I do not do this for clients because simply I don't have the process. I never paid for a single link in my life, and that never prevented me from being penalized anyway. So in many industries and many niches, you cannot really get away without paying for links, because you will not just be able to overrank your competitors who do this. So I would approach that first from the competitive research perspective. I would see what kind of backlinks they have. If they do have a lot of anchor text, paid links, and they allow them to rank, that's what I would tell client. This is the reality. I cannot keep telling my clients, hey, you cannot pay for links while all your competitors are overranking you by paying for links. I would be very transparent with that, but I would leave them up to the client, because I simply don't have that process. There are other agencies that have very smart ways to build links with paid links or with other ways. We just don't have that. And it's not like I'm against that, or I like frown upon that, or think that's nothing you could have to do. It's just we don't have the process, so we don't provide that service. But I would always be very transparent with the client, saying, hey, it looks like your competitors are doing this, so if you really want to move a needle, there is a good chance you may have to do this as well. So
got to play the game.
Yes. So in many competitive industries, that's the only way still, unfortunately, but it's just not something we're doing.
Gotcha.
It sounds like you'd advocate for a blend of the earned, PR-driven links from other authoritative third-party conferences, events, blogs.
We do. Our main way to drive links to client sites is creating linkable content, and we're very good at getting links to that. So we don't build links to commercial pages necessarily. We build links to the site, and luckily from the leaked Google's documentation, we know that homepage authority, site authority, homepage link equity exists, and it's a key factor in search. So we are doing the right thing, it looks like. But no, we build links to content that we create, and we target it to become linkable. So I know it's not enough in some niches, and I'm always 100% transparent with clients when we discuss this with them. When we see that this is how they get links and it looks like it's working. It may stop working in 1 year and 6 months. We don't know that. In some niches, we've been waiting for that to happen for 20 years now, when spammy link building stops working. So I'll tell that to the client that this is something you may have to do. Luckily, there are not so many manual penalties these days, so it's not as risky, but it's something I have to tell clients, that it looks like all your competitors, that's how they are ranking.
That's fair. All right. Well, Ann, thank you so much for joining us today. And you can reach Ann on LinkedIn and X. I know you're very active on LinkedIn and in the community, and you're always creating great content to share. And so we recommend you find Ann on LinkedIn and follow her. And thanks for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode of the E-Commerce Traffic and Conversion Podcast. Have a wonderful day.